This presentation will focus on sporting events that foster an Australian regional identity. Regional identity has been celebrated with most competitive sports in Australia, with state competitions being held with athletes representing a region or a particular community. The idea of parochialism will be brought up during this presentation, and this idea is around how a person or a group of people might have a limited or narrow outlook that is especially focused on a particular local area, and sometimes it could promote narrow-mindedness, and so sport can promote this type of thinking. The state of origin is a great example of an event that is used to promote a regional identity. Of course, the state of origin is a rugby league competition between New South Wales and Queensland that has been held since 1980 and obviously played before large crowds and watched by millions on TV. It's about state versus state, New South Wales versus Queensland. Each team has their colour, the blues for New South Wales, the maroons for Queensland. It is a fierce competition with aggressive, powerful and heavy contact. It's considered more than a game of football. It's the state of New South Wales versus the state of Queensland, two regions competing against one another for supremacy in this particular sport. And you can see that the sport is well publicised. And you can see the mascots, the cane toads versus the cockroaches, just add to the idea that this is a rivalry between states, and it's not a friendly one. Often you'll see politicians getting involved to boost their popularity and connect with the people. And state of origin is used to reinforce this interstate rivalry and create this regional identity. You'll see premiers going back over time getting involved and representing their state and promoting the performance of their state. You'll see various deals being made between the premiers about flying a flag on a famous landmark in their state. You'll see various competitions being formulated between the premiers. For example, in 2014, a bet between the two premiers. The state leader whose team loses the series will have to wear the winning team's jersey during a run around Lake Burley Griffin, of course, which is in Canberra, at the next parliamentary meeting that they have. Of course, you have our current Premier, Gladys Berejiklian, getting involved and using state of origin to promote her connection with the people of New South Wales. And likewise in Queensland, we see similar connections being made with the politicians. But we also have other examples of sport creating regional identity. We've got national competitions across the nation in our major football codes, and this has created suburban rivalries and a lot of community involvement. Of course, we have the AFL competition with their various teams, and you can see that their various logos and colours are on display here. Obviously, each jersey has a very, very important place in the community of followers or supporters for each team. So the AFL is a competition of 18 teams spread over 5 states. Unique culture, history and colours, symbols and fan base for each team. Each team fosters its own regional identity. Sydney-siders, for example, follow the Sydney Swans. Passionate fans follow their team, and it's often linked to locality. Family history may also determine the team that people support, and there are often very fierce suburban rivalries between teams. Some teams do not like the fans of the other team, and so this can create some conflict and some animosity between fans. And of course, the National Rugby League has its own competition with 16 teams based across 3 states, and of course the ACT as well. And each team obviously has its own culture, history, colours, symbol and large fan base. And you can see that each team has its own regional identity. For example, the people of Brisbane follow the Broncos. The people of Sydney have a range of teams that they can follow. And many fans are passionate about their team. And of course, it's linked to locality, family history, but there are a lot of suburban rivalries. For example, the South Sydney Rabbitohs and the Sydney Roosters are not, they come from a very similar location, but they're two clubs that have very different fan bases, and so this can be a source of animosity for the fans. So South Sydney Rabbitohs were a foundation club formed in 1908 and originally founded in Redfern. And you can see that Redfern was a working class town, and the Rabbitohs name actually is linked to the players, the working class men, selling rabbits in the local community. And so the word Rabbitoh was associated with the people selling the rabbits. So that's where it comes from. So you can see this deep community tie linked to the name of the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Of course, we saw South Sydney ejected from the competition, the NRL competition, in 1988, but only to be returned in 2002. But we saw mass community protests taking place across Sydney in a bid to try and get the team re-entered into the competition. And so through this, you can see that there was a lot of community outcry, but you can see what the team means to the community. And so the team represents the community and provides the community with an identity. And so with the team being ejected from the competition, it took away some of their identity. So in summing up, you can see that sport is used to promote a regional identity in many ways. You have the state of origin competition that helps to reinforce the boundaries of Queensland and New South Wales, and the supporters getting on board and supporting their team as a way of showing solidarity and community spirit in New South Wales. And you see the same kind of thing happening at the next level down with the national competitions that we have, where particular regions or cities have their own team. And so each team has its own symbols and history, colours, and large fan bases, which obviously showcases or displays how much sport means to the people of those communities. Sport can provide entertainment. It can provide an opportunity for people to connect with other people, but also an opportunity to find purpose in people's lives, following their team and seeing their team become successful can be a source of pride for the community, and also a source of positivity for the people in society. So sport can develop those ideas of community spirit. Thank you very much for listening.